6, a helping hand with your land.
Neil from Essex here with today's 3-Minute Thursday. Today we're going to take a moment of your time to give you some tips and suggestions on how to manage your diesel fuel supply for your equipment. So diesel fuels seem to be one of those areas where if you hop on the internet and you look at the recommendations from different people, you're going to see a lot of different practices out there among different customers. And that becomes a bit of a frustration here because everybody's products are different. You can get away with a lot more sloppiness in the handling of your fuel and the kinds of things that you dump in your tank on older equipment than you can on newer equipment. So some of those recommendations you do need to take with a grain of salt because something may have worked for Guy and his Farm All M for the last 50 years, but in your modern common rail diesel is really going to cause you some trouble. So as we go through, we talk through some of these intricacies of fuel. Just realize it's a big industry with a lot of different equipment out there, and not everybody's experiences are always going to be the same. So the diesel fuel oil product itself is sold in a lot of different ways. If you go to your regular retail gas pump, you're going to buy on-road diesel. You're also going to have guys that are going to buy that diesel from a bulk supplier that's not at a retail gas station where you can buy it off-road. And an off-road diesel is exactly the same product as on-road diesel with a red dye added to it by the government to show that tax has not been paid on that fuel. On-road and off-road diesel are the same products. And so there is absolutely no differentiation with them in what should be put in one tank versus another. So that's totally okay. Heating oil, largely we would say exactly the same thing about. If you go and you talk to your fuel oil suppliers, for the most part, heating oil trucks are delivering regular retail diesel fuel. It's not really any different product than the stuff that's poured into an engine versus your heating oil tank at home. You do want to ask some questions to your supplier about that. There may be a supplier out there that runs separate fleets of trucks for those products and does put less additive packages into the home heating oil. But for the most part, you're going to find that most suppliers today have unified those fleets and are selling exactly the same product. So the guys that happen to be pumping fuel oil out of their fuel heating tanks into their tractors, that is actually an okay practice most of the time. In the families of fuels, kerosene is very closely related to diesel fuel. You'll find guys that will give you a recommendation where when you get into cold weather situations, that one solution to that, the gelling and things that can happen with diesel fuel in cold weather, is to add kerosene into your fuel. We're going to tell you today that is not something that you want to do anymore. On old tractors, it may have been a passable practice, but at that point, the formulation of diesel fuel was very, very different than it is today, as they're constantly taking steps to make diesel fuel more environmentally friendly. What they're doing every time is removing the lubrication additives from those fuels, and when you take kerosene and you add that into the diesel fuel, you're diluting it even further and removing that lubrication property from your engine. So today, we're not going to tell you that putting kerosene into your modern tractor is a good idea, or even really your old ones anymore, just because that diesel fuel is not the same as it used to be. Biofuels are available from a lot of fuel suppliers as well. The bios are going to come along with a bunch of additional concerns that you don't have with typical fuels. Biofuels are going to have different ratings, B and then a number after it denoting the percentage of biodiesel in that fuel product. Their bio product is going to be mixed with traditional diesel to create a typically B5 to B100 mix of how much bio is in that product. The higher percentage of bio that you have in your fuel, the more concerned that you need to be about collecting water. Biodiesel is more apt to pick up water than traditional diesel fuel is. So when you're running biofuels, or a percentage of biofuels, you need to keep an eye on your fuel filters and ideally be changing them a lot more often, as much as 2 or 3 times as often in high bio concentrations as you would with a typical non-bio fuel. The last bit of advice that we can give is to the guys that have the newer common rail equipped diesel engines. If you have a common rail engine, you want to pay very, very close attention to this fuel conversation. When you have a common rail diesel, that common rail system is running between 20 and 30,000 PSI at the injectors. And if you have fuel go through your system that has water in it or a bioproduct with a lump of some sort, and those larger molecules are forced down through your fuel injectors, those injectors can be slowly sandblasted away and those those tips causing them to fail and not work properly anymore. So you want to be very, very cautious of the fuels that you're putting into your equipment if you're somebody with a common rail system, so keep close eyes on those fuel filters. If you're a local customer to us who uses a lot of diesel fuel, we do have some solutions to offer you. We do sell fuel tanks in all kinds of different sizes, fill-right pumps to go into your truck toolboxes or into these tanks here. A lot of different options in order to save you some money on your fuel costs ultimately and help make you a little bit more profitable. So if you got fuel questions for us or any equipment needs that you have for parts or service, give us a call at Messick's, 800-222-3373 or online at messick's.com.